Good afternoon, council members. My name is, of course, Jacob Caddali, and I've had the privilege to be your research and policy intern for this summer, and I will be talking about my analysis of the Neighborhood Traffic Safety Program.
We're working on it.
Yep. Yeah, no problem. Next slide, please. Today, we'll be going over the history of the program over time to see how the Neighborhood Traffic Safety Program, or NTSP for short, functioned beforehand and how it's changed over time. Then we'll look at the current state of traffic safety here in Pierce County. And then finally, I'll be talking about the 3 levels of policy recommendations that I'm offering today, along with other future areas of work. Next slide, please. So let's first talk about the principles that have guided the county's work surrounding traffic safety. The first of which is the 3 E's of traffic safety. That is education, engineering, and enforcement. Education is focused on teaching driving safely through public campaigns. Engineering is focused on building and enhancing the features of the road for safety through things such as traffic control devices like speed bumps, street lights, and signage. Enforcement is focused on ticketing and disincentivizing bad driving behavior through enhanced traffic enforcement in speeding hotspots by having sheriffs present in the area where speeding is occurring. Next slide, please. Here in Pierce County, we have the highest rate of traffic deaths for large counties in Washington state per capita, based on an analysis done on crashes between 2018 to 2023. In addition, staffing shortages have meant that the sheriff's office has had to pause traffic enforcement requests. And of the 611 fatal and serious injury crashes, or FSI crashes for short, 209 have occurred on or within 100 feet of a local road. Listed below are the various traffic safety initiatives of the county, including the Large Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, and its subcategories, such as Blue Zones, Vision Zero, Safe Routes to School, and other TIP projects. It's also important to note that the NTSP is completely separate and significantly smaller. Of course, as you all may know, it was established in 2012 to focus on small spot safety improvements. And whereas the TIP is housed under PPW, the NTSP is housed under your council members' offices. Next slide, please. Before I head into the history of the program, here's how I broke down the analysis of the NTSP. The first part is the initiation process, basically how constituents can bring up these concerns. And then the second level is the selection process, basically how governments screen and prioritize traffic safety concerns. And finally, the third level is that of community involvement. How and to what extent do we engage with the public on the issue of traffic safety? With that, let's look at how the NTSP functioned before. Next slide, please. In my consultation of the history of the NTSP, I interviewed 3 former chairs shown on the screen, and when asked about how they gained feedback surrounding traffic safety concerns, they stated that they relied heavily on emails and calls from constituents, but some also relied on having public meetings with a Planning and Public Works rep in different community centers as well. All had said that the scope should be focused on small, low-hanging fruit, such as streetlights or signs. And when it came to prioritizing which final projects to put on their list, there was ample discretion given to council members. However, they would often continue to rely on talking with Planning and Public Works staff to figure out what's possible in certain cases. And when it came to community involvement, that of course varied greatly, with former Chair Richardson engaging strongly with the community by having public meetings in Parkland Spanaway prior to the creation of the final project lists, while others decided to follow a more internal approach to their decisions. Next slide, please. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a significant increase in reckless driving behavior such as speeding. As a result, the type of traffic safety project taken up reflects this. In 2015, streetlights were the name of the game, with 14 of them being installed. That number dropped to 1 in 2025. But traffic calming evaluations, that is, any evaluation that was focused on determining how to reduce speeding through alterations to the road, grew significantly from 4 in 2015 to 14 in 2025. This leaves us in an incredibly constrained environment, of course, because if much of the NTSP funds is focused for these studies, little money is actually left to install traffic control devices. This past year alone, of the 22 total projects that were funded under the NTSP, only 5 were actual traffic control devices. Now, this brings us to the current state of the program. Next slide, please. Next slide. In my analysis of the various issues of the process, I consulted not only with you council members, but also a wide array of community organizations, county departments, traffic safety experts, and traffic safety departments in other counties. Next slide. Some of the issues identified when it came to the initiation process were that there was no public information about the neighborhood traffic safety program on the county's website and on the neighborhood traffic safety subsite. In addition, there was no centralized approach for tracking traffic safety concerns in council member offices, thus requiring a little bit more time on the policy staff side to gather the correspondence with constituents and to compile a final list of projects from council member offices. Finally, there was no uniform or accessible approach to responding to constituents' traffic safety concerns, meaning it seemed difficult to bring up concerns for people who did not know about the process. And more internally, it causes certain issues with having no unified response because it creates issues with relaying clear and correct answers to constituents and often leads to feelings of frustration and distrust with the government. Next slide, please. When it came to selecting and prioritizing projects, the main issues were that there was a lack of understanding about what the scope of the program is, which projects qualify based on the Office of the County Engineer and all the various other traffic safety initiatives, and information surrounding what traffic control devices should be used is hard to relay to the public in a succinct and a correct manner. And while most council members emphasize that projects should be focused on the most public benefit, only 35% of projects actually occurred at or nearby high risk or high injury local roads. Next slide, please. Finally, when it came to community involvement, the following issues were identified. Of the community organizations that were talked to, all of them had expressed a lack of awareness of the program, but were still willing to be more involved in the decision-making process should they be allowed to do so. None of the people spoken from community organizations felt as though their neighbors or even themselves knew about traffic control devices, which to use them, when to use them. And as stated before, this information is often hard to synthesize. Now let's go ahead and head on to the policy recommendations. Next slide, please. These recommendations were broken down into 3 levels, and this is done so because they vary in the amount of council member discretion, community involvement, and the extent and scope of the program in the future. And this analysis was done based off of my research of 14 different jurisdictions that you can see in the report later on, but 11 of them were in Washington State, and most of them were in Pierce County or close to Pierce County. Next slide, please. Level 1 is focused on enhancing decision-making tools, and this level has the highest amount of council member discretion and keeps the NTSP relatively small in scale. Under Level 1, the main improvement for the initiation process is updating the information on the See-Click-Fix site by getting rid of the reference to the Sheriff's Traffic Division for any requests for enhanced traffic enforcement. It also suggests that council members redirect constituents to this form to fill out and centralize information later on. Next slide, please. For the selection and prioritization process, it would focus on using a simple 3-factor prioritization criteria as a guiding tool to assist council members in their decision making, and also using a council member assistant tracking sheet that can be edited and shared with staff for a quicker process of approval. This criteria was based off of the other jurisdictions that I had studied and their prioritization criteria. And as you can see, it follows a simple 3-factor analysis with 5 points given to the number of fatal and serious injury crashes in the area, 3 points to proximity to parks and schools, and 2 points to the community impact index score. Next slide, please. So you might be wondering how you get this information, and that's with the NTSP's GIS dashboard tool. As I've just gone over it with most of you council members, I won't go too into depth, but once again, I'd emphasize that the aim is to have this as an easy one-stop shop to help determine a prioritization score for your council member assistants and for your offices. And it can also be retrofitted to be made public like the Vision Zero dashboard if you all find it beneficial. This falls in line with the data-based approach that much of the jurisdictions analyzed conduct already. Next slide, please. Along with this, in consultation with the Office of the County Engineer, I was able to put together an itemized cost list of some of the most commonly used traffic control devices. And this should kind of help you all in deciding which projects to fund based on the limited resources allocated. And moving on to community involvement. Next slide, please. In the realm of community involvement, level 1 would be focused on making information on the process of the NTSP more publicly available by putting it onto the county's website. And this should help in some small ways in educating a constituent who's trying to issue a concern. And many other counties have these toolkits publicly available on their county websites, such as Montgomery County as part of their Vision Zero initiative. Next slide, please. Level 2 is focused on community engagement and emphasizing the need to seek out more input from the public, along with using the pillar of education as an important part of combating traffic safety issues. In the initiation process, that looks like allowing for and prioritizing traffic safety petitions from homeowners associations, civic associations, and neighborhood groups. This is already conducted in different jurisdictions such as Snohomish County, Kitsap County, and the city of Puyallup. And the threshold for what is considered a valid group of residents is 25% in Kitsap County and ranges all the way up to 51% in the city of Puyallup. And this ensures that traffic safety concerns are urgent and brings awareness among the community. But it also means that in order for this to work, more community outreach is necessary. On the selection and prioritization side of things, this would also kick in a two-tier system, where the first tier would, of course, be focusing on projects from community groups, and the second tier would be focused on projects with individual traffic concerns. This tiered system is similar in structure to Tacoma's current traffic calming program. Next slide, please. The main bulk of change in level 2 is that of community involvement. And with this, I also proposed a community engagement plan on neighborhood traffic safety. This plan includes a series of public-facing traffic safety activities that the county can conduct in order to boost the public's knowledge of traffic safety in general. And this plan also calls for collaboration and integration with the work of existing departments and organizations who are already doing the work of community outreach in areas heavily impacted by traffic safety. So what do these activities kind of look like? It looks like walk audits for community members to better engage with their built environment in a critical lens, or tabling at community events and working with departments such as Long Range Planning or ORCA, who are already conducting outreach efforts to areas like Parkland Spanaway. And we can also leverage existing structures like the Transportation Advisory Commission to spread the word further to the public and industries impacted by this program. Next slide, please. It also looks like creating more educational content, physical materials, and surveys to increase visibility and community feedback. Included in the community engagement plan that you all will see later on are the foundations of some of these community outreach materials that can be further altered for future use. And so this includes things like yard signs focused on showing how slower is safer and how safe driving saves lives, or calls for feedback, which you could put onto your social media or newsletters whenever you want to tell other community members about the program. And also documents laying out the general process of the neighborhood traffic safety program overall. These all can work to form a more educational response to the county, to traffic safety issues that the county can utilize. Next slide, please. The third level is focused on altering the structure and scope of the NTSP to increase county capacity and collaboration. And for this, the initiation process focuses on, rather than getting traffic safety concerns and having the Office of the County Engineer send over traffic engineers directly to those sites, it instead would focus on working on GIS to make a traffic calming request eligibility screening tool. And this idea came from the city of Pittsburgh's traffic calming request tool, which allows people to click or locate street segments that they would like work on, and it immediately shows whether or not that street section is eligible or ineligible for a traffic calming request. And this can, of course, shorten the first part of the NTSP processing incredibly quickly because it already notifies the public and the constituents whether or not their street is eligible. Next slide, please. For the selection and prioritization process, there are a couple of ways to improve county capacity through efficiency improvements and collaboration. In Kitsap County, they host frequent meetings with their county engineers, their sheriff's traffic enforcement division, and policymakers. And this helps kind of form a more unified approach to traffic safety. One of the best tools I found to boost efficiency for this program, however, is Street Vision. It's a behavioral driving analytics tool that's currently being used by 55 different government entities in Washington state. This tool has the ability to be used as an assisting screening device for assessing things like roads, speeds, and volume. And it reduces the need to send over county engineers to conduct strenuous speed and traffic calming studies. It does so by working with 25 of the largest auto insurance companies to get driver data for those who opt into driving behavior tracking programs for lower insurance rates. And the turnaround time for learning this type of tool is relatively quick, with someone able to get a good grasp of it within 6 to 8 weeks. Next slide, please. Level 3 would also focus on one significant adjustment to structure, and that's housing this program under PPW rather than the county council. This has the potential to increase the capacity to conduct community engagement work by conjoining it with community engagement under the current Vision Zero outreach, and also shift the work of screening complaints fully away from council member assistants and council member offices and policy staff and onto PPW. I also want to note, however, that this level does still allow for council members to have some discretion at the final stage of the process. For example, this looks like in Montgomery County, the analysis work being conducted under their Public Works Department, but the final list of projects and the final approval still heading for a vote to their commissioners' offices. This allows for decision makers to shift certain priorities or add on or change around certain projects that did not match or align with the Public Works Department, but still puts the vast majority of the analysis of it into their Public Works Department. Next slide, please. Now, this next section is focused on the identification of grant opportunities and other indirect policy areas related to traffic safety I came across in my research. If the county were to focus on level 3 and working on all levels to enhance education and enforcement, there is a federal grant called the Innovative Traffic Safety Enforcement Grant that's given to counties that show a promising program that can be scalable for counties across the United States. And they put particular emphasis to programs that take a, quote, clear, evidence-based, and data-driven approach. Funding is between $500,000 to $2 million, and applications just recently opened last month. This can be used to help build out our educational traffic safety outreach and also fund a transition to a more integrated traffic safety approach with law enforcement. Next slide, please. Another resource that could be beneficial is the Washington Traffic Safety Commission's permit application to use one of their free licenses for Street Vision. They currently have a couple of vacancies available, and it allows local government departments access to the Street Vision tool so long as you agree to provide feedback on whether or not the tool has been beneficial to the work of your department or your program. Next slide, please. As you look towards enhancing traffic safety in the future, I also wanted to bring forth a couple other initiatives to your attention for possible consideration. There's a program called Healthy Streets and Play Streets, which restricts the traffic from local roads and includes small traffic barriers, noting that streets are closed. And the goal of this type of initiative is to make it easier for communities to reclaim their local streets as places for community and reduce the total amount of unwanted cut through traffic in certain areas. And this is of concern from a couple community organizations I had consulted with, because they had stated before the permitting process currently for the county to close a local road for events such as block parties or community events was incredibly strenuous. In addition, there is also the policy of reducing all local road speeds from 25 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour, which has been something that's been adopted by other Vision Zero initiatives across the country. Next slide, please. With that, that's the end of my presentation. I want to say thank you all to those who are listening and watching who have helped me throughout this process. Thank you to the council members for talking with me throughout, and to my supervisors and to my coworkers at the county council office for being such amazing resources. But yeah, I'm willing to take any questions now.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I was like, I feel like we need to clap. Okay, so now we'll open it up for questions. Just well done. Really appreciate the level of detail and the way that you tackle this.